everyone and welcome back to Q Programming. My name is Sammarth and in this video we'll be starting with the file handling chapter, and in this chapter we'll be covering different types of files, what are the importance of files, how you can use files with Python for different functions. This video is basically an introduction to that chapter. We'll be talking about what are files, what are the advantages of using files, and a basic overview of text, CSV and binary files, the main files we'll be covering. And in the future videos we'll be looking at each file in detail and how to use them with Python. Right, let's get started by talking about what is a file. We've seen files, right? They're available on our phones, they're available on our computers, they're available all around us on different storage devices that we have. So file is basically something that stores data on different, whatever device we're using. It stores data, and in different formats we can use that data. So what are the advantages of using a file? So let's talk about the advantages. So advantages. First, they allow us to store data permanently. Permanent method storage. Now, you've used Python before. You know that if we, for example, declare a variable a is equal to 2, then we run the program, we do whatever we want with that variable. But once we've finished the program, once we're done using that, then we can't access that value of a anymore, right? Because that was a temporary value that we had for our program. But let's say I wanted to use that value sometime else in the future for some other program, or maybe after I've closed my laptop or my computer, whatever I'm using, I've closed it, I want to use that data again sometime in the future. So then we need to store that data permanently, and files allow us to store that data permanently. That's the first point. Second, they allow us to reuse data. Now, reusing data is very important. We don't want to keep generating the same data again and again. For example, if I have data for a class list, I want to store that permanently, first of all, and I want to reuse that data again and again. So I don't want to keep making that data again and again. I want to store it permanently, and then whenever I want to, I can access it easily. And that brings us to the third point. We want to access it quickly, quick access. So if we store data in a file, for example, I store my class list in a file, and I can retrieve it whenever I want very quickly. I can just open that file and we have all that data that we need for whatever functions we do. Right? And now the fourth thing is they allow us to manipulate data. Manipulation. So with files we can easily access, quickly access and easily access that data, and then we can easily manipulate it. So we can change that data, we can overwrite that data, we can rewrite that data to a file, a separate file, we can copy data, all those kinds of things we can do with files. They'll allow us to easily play around with and manipulate that data that's contained in files. These are the advantages of files. Let's start talking about what different types of files we have. So broadly, we can classify these into text files and binary files. So I'm going to make a table, text files and binary. Now, let's start with the first point. What is the difference between a text file and binary file? So a text file is a file that we can understand the contents of, but in binary, we cannot understand the contents. So you can say that it's human readable, readable, and this is not human readable, right? Now, there that means that we can understand the contents of text files. We can see, for example, if a text file contains abcd, we can understand, oh, that means abcd. But if that same content is stored as a binary file, we can't understand it at all because it's in binary, and humans can't understand binary, right? We'll have to decode that binary code. So that's the first thing. Text files are human readable, binary files are not human readable. Okay, now let's talk about the next thing. So text files have something called an end of line character, EOL character. And in Python, the default EOL character is \n, which is for new line. So text files have EOL characters, EOLs, but binary files do not have EOLs whatsoever. Now, text files, they store sequences of characters, while binary files, they store objects uh, and other data in a Raw format. That means that they store it as bytes. Format, i.e., zeros and ones. That's the other difference we have. Now, there are obviously other differences. So we can also say that we can give examples. So, for example, .txt files, .py files, and then in binary we can have .dat files, even image files, movie files. They are all binary files. Now let's come to the next point, which is not a difference, but it's an important point you should know that text files are actually on the computer, they're stored as binary files, but when we open a text file, it decodes that where the contents are to a human readable format. So text files are stored as binary, but we see the decoded text. Right? We've learned about ASCII, Unicode, all those things in class 11. So using those things, we can decode that binary content and so that we can read it easily. All right. Let's now move on to CSV files. So CSV files are a class of text files, right? They are, you could say, uh, they're kind of text file. Now, what makes them special is that they can store tabular data. That's why we use CSV files. So CSV stands for comma separated values, and we use them to store tabular data. So let me make a table here. Make a table, bad table, table. So I have this. This is my column 1, column 2, column 3. This is also, let's call this my uh, a. If I want to store this as a comma separated value file, I can store it like this: C1, comma C2, comma C3, A, comma B, comma C. You can see that we've converted this table to a file format. We don't have these borders and all those things, right? But we have this format, which is a tabular format. So each record, each row is called a record. Each record has a separate line, and each field is a field. Each field is separated by commas, or you can use a different delimiter, but by default, we separate different items by commas, and then for each record, we have a new line. That's a basically overview of what CSV files, really look like. And these are also human readable files. They're a classification of text files. That's basically a quick overview of what all we see. Now you should also know that binary files are faster to use than text files, right? Because in text files we have to decode the text, but in binary files we don't have to decode. We can just use it the way as it is, since that's how binary files are stored. But in text files we have to convert the binary data into human readable form. So that's just a brief overview of the different types of files and the advantages of files. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you understood everything, if everything was clear, make sure you like this video and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions, obviously you can leave them in the comments. We will be answering them right away. So we hope to see you in the next one and looking forward to it.